The voice in your head is constantly narrating your life, commenting, judging, and overthinking. But here's the surprising truth. That voice isn't actually you. Once you grasp this, everything changes. Let me show you a simple way to prove that you are not your thoughts and unlock a new way of experiencing life. Your mind is constantly buzzing with thoughts, some useful, many random, and others downright intrusive. These thoughts seem so convincing that we often mistake them for who we are. But if you take a moment to pause and observe, something incredible happens. You realize that you can step back and watch your thoughts as if they're on a screen in front of you. This awareness is proof that you are not your thoughts. They're just mental noise passing through like clouds in the sky, while you remain the clear, open space beneath them. Think about this. When a thought arises, who is noticing it? There's a part of you that's always watching, always aware, even when the content of your mind changes. For example, one moment you might think about a mistake you made last week, and the next moment you're imagining what you'll have for dinner. But the awareness that observes these thoughts stays the same. It doesn't change or disappear. That awareness is who you truly are, not the fleeting thoughts that pass through it. A simple way to experience this is to sit quietly and try to predict your next thought. Just sit there and wait for it to arise. What happens? You'll notice that you have no control over when a thought appears or what it will be. Thoughts come and go on their own, like waves in the ocean. If you were your thoughts, you'd be able to control them completely. But you can't, because they are not you. They are just passing events, like sounds or sensations that you can observe without attaching to them. The idea that you are not your thoughts can feel strange at first, because we're so used to identifying with them. For most people, thoughts feel like their core identity. If a thought says, "I'm not good enough," it feels like an undeniable truth. But just because a thought arises doesn't mean it's accurate or reflective of who you are. The thought is just a conditioned response, shaped by past experiences, fears, or beliefs. It's not the real you. When you start to see thoughts for what they are, temporary patterns, you free yourself from their grip. This realization can completely shift the way you experience emotions. Often, emotions are tied to the stories your thoughts create. For instance, if you think, "What if I fail?" you might feel anxiety. If you think, "I always mess things up," you might feel shame. But when you recognize that these thoughts are just passing mental events, you create space between yourself and the emotion. The thought might still arise, but it no longer has the same power to trigger overwhelming feelings. You can simply notice it, let it pass, and return to the present moment. The mind loves to cling to thoughts, replaying them over and over in a loop. This is especially true for negative thoughts, which often seem to stick like glue. But here's something to consider. If thoughts were truly you, they wouldn't come and go. Your true self wouldn't change depending on whether you're thinking about something happy or something stressful. The fact that your thoughts are constantly changing shows that they are not your essence. They're more like visitors, passing through your awareness, while you, the observer, remain constant and unchanging. One of the easiest ways to see this in action is to focus on your breath. As you breathe in and out, thoughts will inevitably arise. But instead of getting lost in them, simply notice them. Oh, there's a thought about work. There's a thought about what to eat later. By observing your thoughts like this, you begin to disidentify from them. They're no longer your masters dictating how you feel or act. They're just mental events that you can choose to engage with, or not. This understanding also transforms how you approach life's challenges. When a difficult situation arises, your thoughts might start spiraling. "This is terrible, I can't handle this, everything is falling apart." But when you recognize that these are just thoughts, not facts, you gain the ability to respond rather than react. You can assess the situation calmly, without being overwhelmed by the mental stories your mind creates. This doesn't mean ignoring your problems. It means facing them from a place of clarity and presence rather than fear and overthinking. Over time, this practice of observing your thoughts helps you develop what some people call mental stillness. This doesn't mean your mind becomes completely quiet or empty of thoughts. It means you no longer get swept up in the noise. You remain grounded in the present moment, watching the flow of thoughts without identifying with them. This stillness is incredibly freeing because it allows you to experience life as it is, rather than through the distorted lens of your mind's chatter. Here's another simple exercise to try. The next time you feel overwhelmed by a thought, ask yourself, is this thought helping me right now? Often, you'll find that it's not. The thought might be about something that already happened and can't be changed, or something that hasn't happened and might never happen. In either case, it's not serving you. By questioning your thoughts in this way, you take away their power. They no longer dominate your attention or dictate your actions. When you start to see yourself as the observer of your thoughts, rather than the thoughts themselves, something beautiful happens. You realize that you are much bigger than your mind. You are the awareness that holds everything, thoughts, emotions, sensations, and experiences, but is not defined by any of them. This awareness is peaceful, unchanging, and always present. It's the part of you that remains steady, no matter what's happening in your mind or your life. This shift in perspective also changes how you view others. Just as you are not your thoughts, neither are they. When someone reacts out of anger, fear, or frustration, it's often because they're caught up in their own mental stories. Recognizing this can help you approach others with compassion and understanding. You see that their behavior is not their true self. It's a reflection of their inner dialogue, just as your thoughts are not your true self. In the end, understanding that you are not your thoughts is about reclaiming your freedom. When you stop identifying with the endless chatter of your mind, you open up space for peace, clarity, and joy. You begin to experience life as it is, rather than through the filter of your mental noise. And in that space, you discover who you truly are. Not a collection of fleeting thoughts, but the steady, unshakable awareness that watches them all. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this and want to be part of an amazing and growing community of like-minded people, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. It's completely free, takes just a second, and it'll ensure you never miss the better, more valuable content we've got coming your way. Your support really means a lot and keeps this channel thriving. Your thoughts are like a guest at your doorstep, knocking to get your attention. Most of the time, you let them in without question, offering them a seat, engaging with them, and believing everything they say. But here's the reality. You don't have to let every thought in. You can notice it, acknowledge it, and let it pass without inviting it to stay. Just as you wouldn't allow an uninvited guest to take over your home, you can choose not to let unhelpful thoughts take over your mind. This simple shift gives you an incredible sense of control and freedom. The reason thoughts feel so convincing is because they come with a voice that mimics your own, making it feel like it's you. But have you ever noticed that this voice can change? Sometimes it's calm and kind, other times it's harsh and critical. If this voice was truly you, wouldn't it always remain consistent? The fact that it shifts proves that it's not your true self. It's a function of the mind, shaped by experiences and conditioning. You are not the voice. You are the silent awareness behind it, the part of you that doesn't change. One of the most practical ways to prove that you are not your thoughts is to question their reliability. Thoughts often claim to predict the future, but how often are they actually accurate? Think about all the things you've worried about in the past that never happened. Your mind creates endless scenarios, many of which are based on fear rather than reality. By observing this pattern, you begin to see that thoughts are not facts, they're interpretations, and often they're wrong. This realization helps you detach from them and trust the present moment instead. Another fascinating aspect of thoughts is how they repeat themselves. Have you ever noticed that you often think the same things over and over again? Your mind replays the same worries, regrets, and imagined scenarios, as if on a loop. This repetition shows that thoughts are not original. They're patterns, habits formed over time. And just like any habit, they can be broken. The first step is to stop identifying with these repetitive loops. When you see them for what they are, just mental habits, you can choose to step out of the cycle and let them go. Thoughts are also deeply influenced by your emotional state. When you're feeling anxious, your thoughts tend to reflect that anxiety, creating a spiral that feels hard to escape. But here's the key. Just because your thoughts mirror your emotions doesn't mean they're true. They're simply a reflection of how you feel in the moment. By grounding yourself in something stable, like your breath, your senses, or the present, you can break the cycle. You're no longer swept away by the emotional storm. You become the calm center, observing it all without getting lost in it. Here's something else to consider. Your thoughts often claim to know who you are. They label you with identities like, "I'm not good at this," or "I'm always making mistakes." But these labels are not fixed. They're stories your mind tells based on selective memories and interpretations. You're not bound by these stories. The real you is limitless, not confined by the narratives created by your mind. When you realize this, you stop letting your thoughts define you. You become free to explore who you truly are, beyond the labels and limitations imposed by your mind. Your thoughts also have a tendency to focus on problems, even when none exist. This is because the mind is wired to look for threats. It's part of how we've evolved to survive. But in the modern world, this mechanism often backfires, leading to unnecessary worry and stress. When you understand that this is simply how the mind operates, you can start to separate yourself from its constant problem-seeking. You don't have to believe every thought that tells you something is wrong. Instead, you can remind yourself that most problems exist only in the mind, not in reality. One of the most freeing realizations is that thoughts don't require your constant attention. Imagine sitting by a stream, watching leaves float by. Each leaf is a thought, passing through your awareness. You don't need to grab each one or examine it. You can simply let it flow. This is how you can relate to your thoughts. You don't have to engage with every single one. By practicing this, you create space in your mind, allowing clarity and peace to emerge. The more you do this, the easier it becomes to live without being controlled by your thoughts. Another way to see that you are not your thoughts is to notice how they can contradict each other. One moment your mind might tell you, "I want to do this," and the next, it says, "Maybe that's a bad idea." Thoughts argue with themselves, flip-flopping between ideas, creating confusion. If you were your thoughts, wouldn't you be consistent? This inconsistency proves that thoughts are not you. They're mental processes happening within you. When you recognize this, you stop getting caught in their contradictions and instead connect with the deeper part of you that remains steady and clear. Finally, understanding that you are not your thoughts changes how you approach life as a whole. When you stop identifying with the mental chatter, you start to see life with fresh eyes. You're no longer lost in worries about the future or regrets about the past. You're present, fully engaged with what's happening now. This presence brings a sense of peace and joy that thoughts can never provide. It's not about eliminating thoughts entirely. It's about seeing them for what they are and choosing to live beyond them. In this space, you find the freedom to truly be yourself. Thank you so much for watching. Your support means the world to me, and it's what keeps this channel going. If you found value in this video, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss the exciting content coming your way. And if you enjoyed it, give it a like. It really helps more people find this message. I appreciate you being here, and I'll see you in the next one.